Right, one of the things that I really like making on my lathes is whistles, and I've made many different types over the years. I've made slide whistles like this one, which is a great little one to make, and high-pitched dog whistles. What you saw at the beginning of the video there, or heard at the beginning of the video there, was this pigeon caller, or owl hooter. I've based this one on a Amish owl hoot which I saw on eBay, but I've made it so it's variable pitch, which is a good thing to do if you want one. You can do that by just simply having a hole in the end, but I've made a slider with an O-ring on mine to make it a bit different. So I can blow it and it's low tone down here, and then high tone up here. And today I want to show you how to make this one on the Chinese mini lathe, or a simpler version of it without the slider. I'll make the one with the hole in the end. I use a piece of 32mm diameter tubing, which is 100mm long, and it's about 1mm thick on the wall thickness. Then I have a piece of 8mm brass tubing, and a piece of square tubing. I can get these on eBay. If you ever search through for tubing, you can even get the square tubing easily. I've seen that one on there the other day. So now I'm going to go out to the workshop and show you how to make this simple project on the Chinese mini lathe, and you'll see how to safely machine tubing facing off and doing the various other operations. And then all there is a bit of soldering to do at the back. Right, so the first thing I need to do is face off the pipe. I've cleaned up the ends on a disc sander to make it as square as I can. Now you can't put a piece of pipe in a 3-jaw chuck like this and machine safely. It'll actually get ripped out of the jaws. You could hold it in a collet chuck, or maybe a chuck with 6 jaws, but like I say, not with the 3-jaw chuck. What you need to do with tube is make up a close fitting spacer like this one, push it into the end there, and then when I tighten down onto that, I can tighten down as tight as I like, and it won't actually bend that tube in, and it'll make it like a solid piece of bar at this end here. And when I face that off, it won't actually move out of the jaws. And take very light cuts to clean up. And then use one of these deburring tools to take off the burr on the inside of the bore. And I just turn the chuck by hand. So now I can take that one out and put the spacer in the other end and lock that one up nice and solid, and just skim this end. And just take the burr off of that one. And then that part's finished, except for the hole for the whistle. And I have a box of different spacer sizes to fit all different types of tube. It's worth making up lots of different sizes when you actually need them, and then just saving them. And it's a great way of actually stopping that from actually getting ripped out of the jaws. So now I've got a solid piece of brass bar, which is a little bit bigger than the bore of the tubing. I wanted a little bit bigger than the diameter, because I would like to have had a flange on this end here, but I'm going to have to use this one and just do a bore, or just turn it so it fits the bore, should I say, and push the ends in. On the other owl hooter, I actually had a shoulder there, but I'm going to push this piece directly into the tubing and then solder the strut here on the end. So I need two ends, so I'll turn it up and then part off two pieces, and then one will have the hole in the end for the altering of the tone. So I'm going to turn these just a little bit bigger than the spacer I had. I've got about 10 thou to take off of that. And that one's just about going in, nice tight fit, which I want. So now I've got my parting off tool up, and I'm using a very slow speed and just parting a section of that off, and then I'll part the other piece off. It's a bit far out from the jaws, but I think I can just part that one off safely. And I'd just like to say that I wouldn't attempt to part off like this on any other material than brass, having this so far away from the jaws. It's only brass that I would actually do this with. Before I cut it all off, or part it right off, I shall deburr the edges. And that's my 2 pieces finished. And I've just ground the pips off of each end on the grinding wheel. So now I'll put one piece back up and tighten it in the jaws, and then I'm going to centre and drill right through. And that's the front end finished. So now I've put my 2 ends into the tube, and I'm using the lathe to push those 2 ends in with the tailstop. You can obviously do this in a vise, but my vise has got something in it at the moment, so this is another method. And that's the 2 ends pushed home. So now I've put the whole end in the jaws, and I'm going to use my tool post drill to drill a centre hole about 40mm in from the back end here. It doesn't have to be exact. I'm going to do about 42mm, about there. And I'm doing it this way because I haven't got a milling machine, and I want to get it spot on before I drill it on the pillar drill. Like that. And then I can take that one out and drill the hole on the pillar drill. So now I've drilled that one through on the bench drill, and I can deburr that one with my deburr tool, and obviously take off a certain amount on the front end here, thin that down for the actual whistle to work. I've got a bit of a blade edge on the leading edge of the hole, and you can adjust this after you've soldered it together as well, so it's a bit like that. And I've filed the square piece of brass an angle like that in the vise to obviously get the angle for the other pipe, and I also shaped it a bit with the Dremel with a burr tool and deburred that, and that one will sit in that piece of square like that with the angle like that, which should be just right. And before I solder it, I can actually hold it together on the back end, so I can hold it together like this and find out roughly where I'm going to have that pipe. So if I blow into that now, I can make a note of how much overhang I've got on the brass over the tube there and solder that all together. So now I have all the brass parts all cleaned up and polished up, ready for soldering, and I use a solder which is 60/40 tin lead and just a small blowtorch like this one here. So I can heat them up now. The secret when soldering brass is to have it absolutely polished right up, like I said, and then the solder will run into the joints nicely. Like that, and you can clean the excess solder off with a wire brush and a Dremel and a bit of emery. So let that one cool down now, and that's the back strut fitted. So now I've cut the mouthpiece to length, and I've also filed a small notch in this one here, so when it goes into the square piece at the back there, that little notch will sit on top and allow the pipe to drop down a little bit, so that the air, when it goes in, it will be going over that edge and causing the whistle. Now I can bend in this bit at the back here a little bit as well to hold it while I'm soldering. So it's basically about filing the bits to fit and fitting them together and just soldering them up. So now I can solder that one up without it falling off. Like I say, if you get it really nice and clean, the solder will just run in there and cause a blob of solder underneath, a nice thick piece, and then I can do the top end here. That's that side done. And run the solder in nice and quick, and it'll actually fill up any gaps. Like that. And now I can clean that one up, clean off the excess solder with some Swiss files and the little wire brush on the Dremel and a bit of emery, and that one's basically finished. So this is the finished product. I've even put a lanyard on it, a paracord lanyard, so I'm going to hang it around my neck, and this is what it sounds like. So like I said, it's very easy to make one of these, as you've seen in the video. You might have to tidy up this front edge here, the blade part of the whistle, with a half round Swiss file. That's what I did with this one. All you have to do is get that air to flow over that chisel-like front edge of the hole, and that'll make the whistle work properly. So they're dead easy to actually get work in. And many people use these in America for hunting. They make an owl noise on them, and turkeys make a gobbling sound when they hear the owl, and then they can locate the turkeys for shooting or whatever. And that's why they're sometimes called a turkey locator. They're also great for wildlife. If you've got owls in your vicinity, you can actually blow them and get the owls to call back. So they're excellent for that as well. And another thing, just before I go, I said that you can actually get the brass on eBay if you search through for various different brass tubes or whatever. But it's worth, when you go around car boot sales or whatever, to collect all the brass pieces up which are similar shapes or whatever. I've got bins full of different shaped brass, and this actual large tubing here actually came from an old bedstead, so I was very fortunate to find that one, and I stripped it down and put it in my containers, and it's only recently that I've got this out to use this for this actual whistle.